What do I need? I need this. Oh yeah, these are definitely good.
How do you know?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
I was worried about it not being cooked, but there's a man telling me that it's done.
Who is this man? I feel like we were talking to him yesterday.
Well, what does he look like to you? Because I don't see him, I just hear him.
He's old, so he has gray hair. And he's tall. He has like a bigger nose, but he's thin.
I think I actually cooked it a little too long. So it's not as creamy, but it still tastes very good.
Interesting.
I don't know, I like to put it on my toast and eat it.
Gotta try your method. I like it.
We're in a fort still, and we're doing the $2 million puzzle.
I have to figure out how to climb in here now.
Just climb on top of this. Or even like go over there. We're gonna try this again. So, we're doing a puzzle in our fort. But we got the $2 million puzzle. Yeah, it's like a QR code. And you win guaranteed money. Anywhere from $1 to $1 million. We got 2 of these. My mom got them for us for Christmas. Why does it say the $2 million puzzle if you can only get $1 million?
I don't know. I just work here.
But supposedly you're supposed to be able to make a QR code, and then you scan the QR code and you win money. So if you guys are interested in this puzzle, we'll link it down below. We're gonna do this puzzle while we talk about time manipulation, because we watched Loki.
Yeah, my mom got one of these for herself too.
She finished it yet?
No.
What the heck?
She says that it's very difficult.
I mean, it looks easier than the Harry Potter puzzle. That's all the same color. But I don't know. I was expecting it to be black and white, and it's not, so that's good. But there are a lot of solidly blue pieces. Entirely solidly blue pieces.
Yeah.
So, there's that.
But we watched Loki, and it taught us a lot about time manipulation and time things, which is great because also this is kind of a given, but spoiler alerts if you haven't watched season 2 of Loki. But season 2 deals a lot about with time specifically, and like
Both seasons do.
both seasons. But I feel like they leaned heavier into it in this second season, especially with like the final episodes. But while we were watching it, we learned a lot about time manipulation and how we control time, because we work with the actual deity Loki. And even before Em and I met, Loki taught me about astral projection and time things like almost a year ago, which was a trip. He kind of just, I would say, he Sparta kicked me into the astral realm to teach me how to do it.
Yeah, so if you guys watch our last vlog, we talk about why we're smoke and mirrors, and we talk about the fact that we're time beings. So with that in mind, we do a lot of weird time manipulation stuff. So Loki, the TV series, explained a lot of the stuff that we do in the astral realm in relation to like the weird timey-wimey stuff. So one of the things that is like big that we've talked about like in length, which Marvel does a lot about, is parallel universes. So the reason why like Loki has all of the has the TVA and stuff like that is because of what they call as variants. So if you go off of the quote-unquote sacred timeline, you are essentially making a parallel universe where you made a different decision, and now that is branching off of the sacred timeline. You get like pulled out as a variant, and you either get like destroyed or like you brought into the TVA to work there. So is that something that is like actually like has grounds to be real? In a sense, yes. So parallel universes exist, and I have questions about the sacred timeline thing, but if you think about things in the sense of like, I don't know, there's like scientific research based upon how many parallels of existence there are, but it's very much like everything that you do in your life, people talk about something called a soul contract. Your soul contract, a lot of times people think that there's something you're supposed to be doing, your like sole purpose in life, but the things in your soul contract you can't like get around doing. So a lot of people think that you have to incarnate over and over again in order to do the things in your soul contract, but that's not necessarily true, because the things in your soul contract are decision based. So you come up to a decision and you are making all of the decisions that are available. So, for example, if you have a job opportunity, you have a parallel where you accept that job, you have a parallel where you don't accept that job, and you have a parallel of it going completely different. So all of those parallel universes are in fact existing. Those are the like variants, branches, whatever. But what is weird for me to think about is like, what do you think the sacred timeline is? Is the sacred timeline a thing?
I don't feel like it's a thing like in the Marvel shows, no.
Okay, then what do you think it is? Or do you think it just doesn't exist at all?
I don't feel like it exists, because I feel like we have
I thought that, but I think it's different.
I feel like it's because we have the ability to make the decisions that branch off. So I think that I think if there's a type of like sacred, like actual sacred timeline thing, I feel like it would be more so of I feel like there would be multiple sacred timelines.
Well, do you think it's a sacred timeline based on the person?
Yes.
Because like one of the things I think is weird is people are like, I time jump to like different parallels and I want to be on the like best option for my parallel, if that makes sense. So they make me feel like you are living those other lives where like decisions happen that aren't necessarily favorable or things like that, but I feel like you exist more consciously or presently on your specific sacred timeline where you make the decisions that people think are like actually written out and specified in your soul contract.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
It does to me. I feel like you're still able to like branch off of it, but I feel like when that happens, you're like, because you're going against like the natural flow of things.
Yep.
It makes the certain paths or decisions you're trying to go down more difficult to reach or obtain. So like if you're, I don't know, let's say like you're trying to, like you really, really want a dog, but financially you shouldn't be getting a dog right now. You shouldn't be like, you don't have your own place to, like it is not like in the universe's best interest for you to get a dog at that time. You can still make the decision to go out and get a dog, but it will take you off of like the proper path that you were on. But it's not obviously like you're not going to get like killed or pruned or like go work in the TVA, obviously. But I feel like you end up choosing the like not sacred timeline that is going to make your life more difficult based off of those decisions.
The thing that like freaks me out is it's kind of like why are we existing on this timeline? Because this timeline seems quote unquote more favorable. But it's like there is a variant of me living in those other parallels. So I'm like, well, why am I not on those parallels? That's what's confusing to me. So I'm like, is there like a sacred timeline of me living on this parallel where I'm more conscious? Or are those other parallels also the same consciousness? I don't know.
I feel like they're different consciousness. Because I've had experiences with like talking to like my different parallel selves. Yeah. And they have very different levels of like consciousness and beings.
This puzzle is a lot harder than I thought.
My mom said it was difficult.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't know if this goes here or not.
Yeah, there's a lot of pieces where it seems like it could go there, and it just...
Because they're all shaped the same.
Yeah. I don't know, my mom said that it's easier to start, actually, like, to try to find things in the middle that go together versus the edges.
Next question. Who are the timekeepers? So in Loki, there's timekeepers. Those are the people that, like, are employed because they're variants to go find other variants to protect the sacred timeline. So who are the timekeepers?
I feel like there's different levels of timekeepers. There's, at least like my understanding of it, there are like specific spiritual beings that deal just with time. So for instance, there was a time where I was astral projecting and I got stuck in the astral. And like there was this like, I like got like caught in this like time trap thingy because I was doing things I wasn't supposed to.
Naturally.
Yeah, it's kind of the essence of my soul. But this like specific being is the one that kind of like was a sort of timekeeper. So I feel like it specifically was one of the things that stopped.
Yeah, the thing was kind of like a white blood cell in the body. You were something that didn't follow the quote-unquote rules of the body, so it was kind of trying to remove it.
Yeah, so I feel like that is a type of timekeeper. But I feel like...
well, like for the physical realm, I feel like it's archangels.
Yeah, I was just about to say archangels.
Yeah, because they've explained to us that archangels are kind of like the line judge in the video game of life. So if you do something you're not supposed to, they kind of come in and correct it. So a lot of people talk about, oh, I thought I was going to be in this horrific car crash, but it was like someone steered me away from the bad things. Those are the archangels. The archangels are the ones that like intervene and stuff like that. So those are an example of timekeepers. 2 examples. Time slipping. Is it possible?
Yeah, so in Loki, in the second season, they introduced this concept called time slipping, where Loki pretty much, at first, he's not able to control it, but he slips between past, present, and future, kind of like very, not necessarily fluidly, but very quickly. It's interesting because that is something when I started working with Loki originally, that he kind of helped me understand is something that I can do, but it's more under the guise of something called quantum jumping, which is a like term or like kind of like theory in quantum mechanics where you're able to like manipulate like atoms, physiology, different things to jump into different like times, parallels, things like that. So he told me that I can do that. I think you can too.
Great. You were explaining to me yesterday that if you understand time as like fabric, like the fabric of time and space, quantum jumping is kind of like if you were to scrunch the fabric up, you can move a lot quicker because the fabric is like scrunched up.
So, like, if you had a road and you, like, pulled two pieces of the fabric and pushed them together, you don't have to travel across the road. You can just jump to that, like, section.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, that's what time slipping is? So, what do you mean? You slipped into different timelines?
Yeah, so when I was, like, last year when I was learning about it, I felt like I was going into different times and also, like, different parallels to, like, experience different things or get, like, knowledge or understanding of things that I was supposed to. There's been a couple times where I've done it in my sleep a lot, but I've also done it very, like, consciously, like, while I was awake. Yeah. So I was home alone. I was getting ice cream. Like, I had checked my mom's location, because we share our locations, like, on her phone to see where she was, because I didn't know if she was home. She wasn't home. And I was in, like, a call with a friend at the time. So I went to eat ice cream. And as I'm eating the ice cream, I start, like, smelling Fruity Pebbles. My body starts getting tingly, and there's a loud ringing in my ear. And then a couple seconds later, my mom walks around the corner. And she looked disoriented. Like, she was, like, super tired. She seemed like she didn't know, like, what, I don't know. Like, it's hard to explain, but for a split second, I was like, is this, like, my timeline, Mom? Because it felt different.
You told me that, and that, like, absolutely blew my mind. And then it started happening to me because I was at a friend's house, and while I was sitting there, everybody was talking about one thing, and then it felt like time stopped and was moving really slowly, and then I saw you as an astral self. And then we come back to the conversation, and they're talking about something completely different than what they were prior.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Loki explained to me that is what, like, time slipping is, like, physically, like, actually.
Weird.
Also, this puzzle is difficult.
Yeah, I don't know how to start.
Because I feel like I'm putting things together, but I don't know if
they actually go together.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you were telling me about all this weird time stuff, I don't remember if this happened before or after, but I remember telling you that the first time I went to the Conjuring house, we rented a car, and when we rented the car, the person that picked up the car told us that they swore it had a different license plate state on it than it did when we went on a break, like when we stopped. And that was, like, the first weird time thing that happened for me, was, like, the license plate state changing. Because it, like, changed from, like, PA or something to, like, Indiana or something like that. And it was, like, crazy because they, like, swore it said something differently prior. So things like that happened a lot. Usually when we're in a car, things like that happen, because you've told me that you have seen, like, the numbers on cars changing, or the license plate numbers changing. So you'll see it will be really close, and then they'll get, like, farther away, and the numbers will change, and they'll get closer again, and you'll be like, this is different now.
Yeah.
Or, like, I remember seeing this car that was driving next to me, and it had a bike on the back of the car, and it was, like, driving in front of me for a while. I passed it, so it was behind me, and then, like, 5-10 minutes later, it goes faster and passes me again, and there's no bike on the back of the car.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, that is my concept of, like, time slipping.
Yeah, exactly.
So I feel like people also call those, like, glitches in the Matrix. Because a lot of people, when talking about stuff like that, talk about, like, a glitch in the Matrix. But I feel like it's more so, like, switching of timelines and things.
Yeah. Because one of the things they talk about time slipping wise in Loki is how he's able to control it. So he figures out he can control it by finding, like, the familiar friends, like, finding that familiar energy. It's almost like finding an energy signature. So it's weird because they make me feel like we manipulated time in order to make certain things happen on our path. So what they show me is it's like there's this huge path, and I think I've explained this before in our vlogs, that is leading towards the things that we're supposed to do in our like soul contract things. Even though there's like parallels that go off of it, this is like our sacred timeline. And one of the things that happened, or what we believe to happen, is we figured out that we could do it faster. There was an opportunity for us to change things, like some sort of butterfly effect that pulled things closer, kind of like your quantum jumping thing. Mm-hmm. So we wrinkled the fabric of time to make things happen faster. So because of that, that's when I feel like the Conjuring House thing happened, when the license plate changed. We switched to a different timeline, and that is where all of this stuff is happening now. But there's this big timeline, which is quote-unquote sacred timeline, and there's a whole bunch of other offshoots that lead back into it. So if we make a weird decision, it leads us back into the sacred timeline. Mm-hmm. So instead of a TVA, it's just like manipulation of the timelines to push it back into the sacred timeline. So that's kind of like how we are able to manipulate these things to make that happen, or an example of what we did.
Do you think that everybody has the ability to like manipulate things like that?
I don't think so. But I don't know what you think.
I don't either.
I think it has to be things that are associated to time.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like because we are death souls that makes it easier for us?
No.
Or you think that it's just different?
Well, it's based upon... Death souls is an overreaching idea about it. The things that are more specified to our souls make us able to do that. Mm-hmm. So the fact that we are behind the scenes, so we deal with the spiritual aspect, the coding aspect, that sort of thing. So we are able to create the output, which is physicality. If you're already on the outside of it, it makes it harder to manipulate things because you have to do it more physically.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
So you have to, as a soul, have some sort of association or affiliation to time. So the next topic I have on here is Ouroboros. We talked to Ouroboros when we started talking to our cats, because our cat's soul has to deal with a lot of time things. And when we talked to Ouroboros, he told us that we were a part of Ouroboros. So Ouroboros is the like personified explanation of physical time. So that's what they deal with specifically. We are something that makes up the idea of physical time. So we are inherently from his plane of existence as of that. Because I did a like video on dragons, and we talked about something called the creative conscious, which is kind of like in a lucid dream sort of space. And there was this blue dragon that explained that he did those things. Mm-hmm. But Ouroboros to me looks yellow and green. And he deals with physical time. So it's interesting because I feel like in order for you to be a time being, you need to be associated to Ouroboros.
That makes sense. I get that.
Yeah. So we talked to quote unquote OB.
I'm Ouroboros.
Because there's an
Ouroboros in the Loki TV show.
Personified OB Ouroboros dude.
Which is funny because that was also a potential name. We almost...
Oh, for our cat?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We thought about naming our cat Ouroboros.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Doing puzzles is very, like, trance-like. So I'm able to just, like...
Talk about
zone out and be like, oh, it's this. So if I'm not talking directly into the camera, it's just because the tism is tisming today.
So with these timelines that I was talking about, in order for us to move the timelines and to push them in towards each other, I feel like we do the same thing that Loki did with time slipping, whereas we just need to find a familiar energy signature. So they make me feel like in order to like pull things together, you have to fit the right energy signature to gain access to the path. This is not me speaking. Because I was like, I didn't know that information until it came out of my mouth.
Yeah, that's always interesting when that happens.
but they're like, the energy signatures aren't based upon where you need to be. So the energy signature is like a frequency, a feeling, that sort of thing. It's how your energy feels, or is able to be perceived. So that allows all of the paths to kind of course so we can have more control over time manipulation through frequencies, energy signatures, that sort of thing. So it is manipulating the frequency, manipulates the time. So if we can keep it at the same energy signature, then it will allow for those things to happen on the sacred timeline. Which is wild, because my next question was, do parallels have different energy signatures?
Yes.
Yes. That would be...
Yeah, because, I don't know, when I've, like, talked to my own, like, parallel selves or whatever, their energy the way I can tell that it is, like, an alternate, like, parallel of myself is based on the energy signature. Because it still is very close to mine, because it's still like the same like soul essence type thing, but the energy signature is different because of the different like parallels. So usually they have like a different, like, for lack of a better term, like flavor. So it still feels close enough to mine, but it feels like
a variant of it.
Like a variation of like what mine would actually be. So that's how I'm able to tell, like, if
like
it's
the difference between
me or
cocoa
not.
pebbles and fruity pebbles.
Sure.
You're like, what?
That. What?
So, how do we specifically do time manipulation? We talked a lot about this in the last one, because it explains the energy of our souls and how we are able to do things. So, Ryker deals with illusions. So, when you add time to illusions, they deal very closely with, like, the illusion that time is moving forward. So obviously, time, like, you have, I don't know, like 12 hours in a day, that sort of thing. It's always 12 hours. It should always feel that way, but some days it feels like it's dragging on too long. Some days it feels like it's going too quickly. So Ryker's energy deals with the illusion that time is moving at a certain speed. So it should always feel the same, but it doesn't. That's the illusion of time. That's what they deal with the behind the scenes sort of thing. It's the spirit or the illusion in regards to time. But you specifically deal with something called time dilation. So time dilation is, I don't know, I talked to Einstein once, and Einstein helped me understand, like, I forget the correct term, but like the ideas of time and space, that sort of thing.
Like the theory of
yes, relativity. Thank you.
Yeah.
The theory of relativity. He explained that to me, which is wild because he did it in spirit. But he explains that time dilation is based upon like different factors that affect how fast time moves. So that can be in relation to how fast something is moving through space, but it can also be affected by gravity. So you deal with a lot of movement and change. That's where the illusions come into place and stuff like that. You are the output of what I put in. So because of that, you have the ability to control time dilation, which is very much on a frequency basis. And we talked about how your soul is something that is a part of like a black hole. So in Einstein's theory of relativity, the idea surrounding black holes is the intense gravity increases or changes the time dilation because of the amount of gravity changing those sort of things. Because it's so intense, it's almost like it could theoretically allow you to move freely through time and space like a portal. So with that in mind, since you are part of that, you have the ability to control the idea of time dilation. So I'm the coding of time. So this is like, I don't know, like the rules of how time works. That's what I do. It's kind of like I'm the coding, Ryker is the output. So using the illusions that are Ryker that can control this like idea of time dilation, I have the ability to move time more easily within their ability to control this illusion of time or time dilation. So it's almost like if you've ever watched Naruto with all of the shadow clones, the way in which they got around the like time in which it would take to learn a new skill is they just made more Narutos, and all of these Narutos would train on this one specific skill, and then when they came back together, each one of their experiences would go back into the original Naruto, and they would learn the skill faster because it was 100 Narutos learning it instead of one.
So is that like similar to how in Loki he would like go back and like spend centuries to like
in
like
Loki
learn how to do do the specific thing that was needed to get it right?
Yeah, I forget what it was specifically, like astrophysics or something like that, or astromechanics or something like that. He asked Ouroboros OB how long it would take him to do that, so he just kept going back in time, like in a time loop, in order to learn all of those things, and he did that through time slipping. So we, as time beings, with our specific ideas of like how our souls manipulate time, are able to put in or code in time loops that can be hidden or put under these illusions of time moving forward. Mm-hmm. So we inherently put time loops that you hide so that we're able to accomplish something faster or to test something out. So when you're coding something like on a computer, a lot of times you do test runs and be like, okay, what's broken? What's not working? So they're like, that's how you figured out how to create the sacred timeline that you guys are running on, because you figured out which one of these things work based on putting these certain time loops into your path. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's what was happening in my head while watching this. So we are inherently making like a whole bunch of Em and Ryker like shadow clones like Naruto in order to achieve like the perfect conditions like in Loki, in order to figure out how we're going to run things best, have the best conditions for the path that we're on. But I also feel like, because you'd mentioned that Loki like went back in time over and over again to get a certain situation like correct. Mm-hmm. I feel like we did that through our past lives, because what we're doing in this life correlates to what we were doing in our past lives. So we, Death Souls, have a lot of very traumatic past lives, and I feel like our souls were living all of those past lives up to this life, where it was very important that everything fall into place and that it was very much this specific time, mm-hmm. in order for us to do the things that we're doing. Because having all of those experiences helps us to gain this certain understanding of people that are being oppressed, as well as the oppressors from a different point of view or perspective. So that allows us to be more capable of changing the minds of society, because we've had a very different perspective than a lot of other people, a lot of other souls. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But an example of this is when we go to haunted locations, one of the things that we've figured out is because of our past lives and our past experiences, we are able to give understanding to the souls there to help them understand themselves in order to become a part of spirit collective or help them cross over or pass on.
It's really cute.
So that just kind of like opened up my eyes to be like, oh, well, that's probably why all of these like lives that we lived are doing those things. Because when we went to the Madison Seminary, I feel like we crossed over this little girl that was very similar to one of my past lives. And I feel like she, because I gave her understanding and her soul gave me understanding, I helped her cross over and she helped my past life cross over. Mm-hmm. So it was just like, I don't know, a very like push and pull sort of thing. So I feel like a lot of those past lives are going to come in handy when we do these ghost hunts to help bring people together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know, that's very much how I feel when we go to ghost hunts.
Yeah, but I feel like that mission is so important which is why we're doing all of this like weird time manipulation things. But Loki helped explain all of these things to us, and I honestly feel like it's Loki the actual deity and Loki the TV show. So, because we both work with Loki.
Yeah, he's great. I've worked with him for a while now. Oh, well, so in the Loki TV show, while we were watching it, they have this thing called the temporal loom.
Yeah.
And that pretty much takes, like, raw time and converts it into, and, like, takes all the raw time and, like, all the stray timelines and weaves them together into the sacred timeline. Mm-hmm. And how they were, like, explaining it to me in terms of how we work is, you are the input into the temporal loom, so, like, because you're the coding of time, so you're kind of, like, all the timelines, the raw things, and you put it into the temporal loom, and then I am the output of the temporal loom. So in Loki, it's the sacred timeline, but for us, it's the same as, like, the whole, like, fire smoke situation.
Which we explained in our last video.
Yeah. So it's very similar to that, but they talk about, like, raw time, and they made me feel like, because, like, in the TV show, they ask, like, you know, they start talking about raw time, so I was like, what do you feel raw time is? Do you think that there is something called, like, raw time? Or, like, what could be called raw time?
Well, what is it in the TV show again?
It's, like, the stuff that ends up making the, like, sacred timeline. For, like...
Well, it's light. Sorry, I don't know who told me that.
Because when watching it, they were like, M is the raw time, because she's the coding of time.
Sorry, brain. Mirrors.
Yeah.
I can manipulate mirrors or reflections, so that would be able to manipulate time, which is light. Because if you understand, like, light years, so, like, we're on Earth, things that are, like, planets that are a million miles away or, like, 3 light years away or something, they may see dinosaurs on our planet because time is light. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, raw time is light. Sorry, go on.
Well, it's also just interesting because Archangel Michael refers to us as love and light.
Yeah.
Because don't they call you love?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm love.
So it's just interesting.
And you're light, which is you're the smoke in the mirrors.
Yeah, but they just were talking to me about how you are, like, because you're the coding of time, you're raw time. And that is what can create timelines that then get input into this temporal loom in the show. That then gets, like, converted into, like, the sacred timeline. But how they showed me as, like, the sacred timeline is, like, there's all of the timelines that are, like, all over the place chaos. But the temporal loom just organized them into, like, a single, like layered strand.
Yeah.
And that's how, like, quantum jumping into time slipping can work, because they're closer together.
Yeah.
So because it's easier for me to go to, like, parallels that are, like, closer to versus, like, farther ones where, like, I'm a drastically different person. I just feel like you're the, like, raw time coding, so it makes it, I feel like you make it easier for me to be able to quantum.
Sorry, more information. Well, fire creates light.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really weird how that, like, works. But yeah, no, that makes sense. I feel like raw time is light, which also makes sense with the, like, the mirror thing and with the idea that we're fire. Mm-hmm. It's just so weird. Because, like, if you also think about it, like, if you're the illusion of time, you control if light is visible.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are smoke, so you can hide it, but you are also a media for light to pass through. So you can make it more visual because it's kind of like dust and, like, a ray of light going through dust. You can see the ray of light better because the dust is there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's just really weird that they told us all of that, and now it's, like, coming together and making sense.
Yeah, because a lot of times we get information about things, and it's, like, over extended period of times is when it starts, like, making sense. And we're like, oh, okay, that's what they mean by that. So,
yeah.
At least for me, because...
Well, it's also, like, they use that to explain things in the moment to us, but then it just, like, keeps going, but it because of that, it validates that we didn't, like, make up the information in our head, that it was given to us. So it always like freaks me out when that shit happens.
Dude, same.
Because I'm like, am I really a medium? Is this really happening? And then shit like that happens, and I'm like, there's no way I could possibly know that information when they told me that first time. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. This is just stuff that we've been doing for like months, like figuring out, learning, understanding. So it's just, I don't know, it's interesting to me that now is when things are like
Clicking.
starting to click more. I was gonna make Swedish pancakes.
Yeah, we're making Swedish pancakes for dinner if you guys want to stick around and watch. It's your grandma recipe?
Yeah, my great grandma.
Great grandma's recipe.
My great grandma Marilyn.
So she's gonna help us figure out how to make Swedish pancakes.
Which I haven't had Swedish pancakes in a while. I love my
I've
family's
never
Swedish
had
pancakes.
Swedish
They're
pancakes.
so good.
I had no idea what
Perks
they
of
were.
being
so.
Scandinavian.
I am Italian. Every little old woman that's going to talk to us from my family, tiny Italian
Have
woman.
you ever had a creme kaka?
I have no idea what that is.
It's a cream cake.
No.
It's Norwegian. It's so good.
Yeah, you just like come up with like foods, and I'm like, you could literally lie to me and tell me that that's not food.
Yeah, no, it is.
So, yeah. Let's go make food.
Yeah. I'm just trying.
Talking.
What do I do?